People, Deluded, I'm back again. I really hope I'm holding this properly. Didn't plan on doing this vid and things like that. I've actually just finished watching a football match. It's pre-season. I wanted to see some youth talents in the ends, really. North London. Watched the game. It ended 3-2, under 11s. Saw some decent players and things like that. I know for safeguarding and all of these things, so I won't expand on the team I was watching and who I saw and all of these things. Really and truly, people, in the grand schemes, it's rather irrelevant in regards to what I'm thinking about or wanted to speak about. I had no plans of doing this vid, but I have to say this. Now, I say this a lot of times, and I know I can speak for my subscribers and my regular watchers. You lot know youth football, and if you don't, I've made a case on trying to explain certain things to you. So you lot know when it comes to youth football, you need to be careful. And the most thing I try and preach to you lot is patience. I believe in football, people. Patience is overstated, but it's very underrated, people. You'll understand. I know a lot of you understand what I mean, and you'll understand exactly what I mean if you follow youth football development of players. That's actually why I'm personally here, people. Now, one thing that annoys me with all fans of all football clubs, and it's going to annoy me this season, especially if Emre and Arsenal follow through with obviously giving the likes of Joe Willock, Emil Smith-Rowe, hopefully he gets over his minor knock. My guy that I love, Reece Nelson, Eddie's been doing his thing. Obviously, Martinelli's just coming to the club. My guy, Tyrese John Jules, you listen, I'm a big fan of him, innit? Him, and if I've missed out names and things like that, you lot know who else. Amici didn't come on tour, but hopefully Amici stays at the club and he gets football. Ollie Inca and Burton have taken their chances in pre-season. It remains to be seen if they'll get games in the Europa and the Carling Cup and the FA Cup and all of these things when they come about in the season, people. But in terms of Emre giving you a chance with the first team, they've took it and they've proved it. They've given some sort of confidence. So who knows? They're in the manager's thinking, maybe not short term in regards to Arsenal getting back into the champs, but they're in regards. People, you need to have patience with these youth players. I say this off the back of Reece Nelson, people, really and truly. And actually, all of them, but let's start with Reece Nelson. Now, Nelson's a bad boy footballer. For me, eventually he's taking that number 7 at Arsenal, people. Mkhitaryan's obviously of the age where he's not going to probably be here in the next 5 years or so. But hopefully Nelson is. Nelson and Holding are two players for me. I think if they play football, develop, keep working hard, I think they're two players that can go on and play for England, people. And as Arsenal fans, I know Chambers has got his debut, and I know Jenkinson once upon a time for England, but what players are really from Arsenal been getting in the shouts and all of these sort of things, or getting in the England squad? I know obviously Jack Wilshere when he was here in that, and obviously Welbs, but you lot know what I'm getting at in it, especially with Southgate and the new thinking. I think Nelson, if he works hard, he can go on to do that. I know with the potential Nelson has and his best friend Jadon Sancho and Callum Hudson-Odoi over there at Chelsea, people get excited and they think about what these players can be tomorrow, and I would too. They've all got different qualities which makes them great. They've all got supreme technical abilities. For me, Nelson's got it all. Maverick, free kicks, dribbling, everything. I know people have him exclusively as a winger, but he can play on the left, on the right. He can play in the 10 row and do that interchanging thing. Sancho's a supreme dribbler, and Hudson-Odoi is a fullback's nightmare. I was a right back. If he played on the left-hand side, it's a myth. The only fullbacks I've seen have a decent show against him was Vontae Daly-Campbell against us. Well, when Chelsea played us in the FA Youth Cup final a couple of years ago, and I think Callum Hudson-Odoi didn't have the best of games against Liverpool when he started last season. They're the only two times I've really seen him not demolish a fullback. I would not want to play against Hudson-Odoi. If I played against Callum, I've got a family. If he nutmegs me, I can't lie, I got to climb because he's a sick baller. I got a lot of time for him, man. All of these guys got potential. But what did I just say there, people? I just said Callum Hudson-Odoi had a bad game, and this is what annoys me about youth football. Fans, not all, but some fans will bang on about this youth player starting and getting a look in, quite rightly so. But when they get a look in and they don't have the best of games, they're turning on, man. I'm not saying Arsenal fans are turning on, guys, but you're seeing a lot of negative comments in regards to Nelson's performance, obviously, against Fiorentina. He didn't have the best of games. He did look a bit rusty in them things. The main thing is pre-season minutes and things like that. Obviously, I know Nelson's got ability and maybe he could have played better. You look at how Saka played and that. You look at Eddie's performance and that. Willock and that when he was about. And maybe he could have. And it is what it is. But people that gas these players, people that are looking at 30-second clips of these players, are the first ones to build them up and then tighten them down. And you need patience with these players, people. Constructive criticism and feedback is fine. That's the industry they live in. But these players, you don't know what you're getting within 10 10 games. I love Eddie and Tyrese. Do I know what level of performance they're going to give me in 10 games, people? And they're at the level where you can't expect that. They haven't got experience. You need to give them it. So there's going to be games where they're on fire, games where they're poor. And fans need to understand that. Of course, they're fighting against it because the backdrop, whatever I'm saying about youth football and that, Arsenal need to get in the top 4. And if these lot are going to be Arsenal players, they got to prove they cut the mustard. Constructive criticism is fine, but you can't be saying this player can do this one game and then you're calling him overrated the next. That's not on, man. And it's going to happen. I'm not saying United fans are like this either, but you're looking at Mason Greenwood, supreme baller, seeing what he was doing for United at youth level. It's looking like Solskjaer's going to do his utmost to bring him into first team going into this season. I think Greenwood's a lovely player. Man can hit a ball on a sixpence and all of them sort of things there. But these players are going to be adapting and learning and developing. You look at Nelson, people that were seeing him score at, for instance, against Hoffenheim. If you looked at some of his performances, go look at my vids because I was watching him. Go look at some of his performances. This ain't a criticism, this is just an eye test. He didn't necessarily have the best of games. He might have just scored and did some good moments, and he's still developing. He made 20 odd appearances for them. How many did he start and how many did he complete 90 minutes? That's not a criticism. He had a good loan spell, but there's also so much areas for development and improvement. Like I said when he went out there, because of what people are saying, he's not going to go to Germany for 1 year and come back Cristiano Ronaldo. It's not going to happen, people. It's not going to happen with none of these guys. Eddie Nketiah, he scored 2 goals and he was superb. But to improve, he's got to improve with his back to goal, because it's all about what you're offering when Arsenal don't have that. When you're not getting the opposition, the balls in the opposition and that. That's not a criticism of Nelson. That's just developing. You've seen Joe Willock now. You lot have believed in Joe Willock. A lot of you have. But Joe Willock probably understands first and foremost, because when he played, who was it? I think it was Emirates Cup against Benfica, and it was definitely Newcastle away. People were calling him rubbish and overrated, and then now what? And now because he played well against Chelsea, good on him, and he's doing his thing in pre-season, they're on him. Fans are fickle, that's the dynamic we live in, but I'm trying to preach to the people that actually listen and understand football. It's like, these lot are developing. It's nice seeing these youth players that are taking these chances and all of these things, but you've got to be careful, people. It's going to take time. Sadly, not all of them are going to make it, and most importantly, all of them are developing at different rates, so we've just got to support them. Of course, we want them to have good games. They're going to have good games. They're going to have bad games. They're going to switch off defensively. Then decision making is not going to be the best. They're going to go on goal scoring droughts. They're going to be anonymous in games. They're going to get muscled out of 50-50s. They're going to show gaps tactically and positionally. This is what happens with youth football. You need to understand that. And to a degree, I'm not saying I want Arsenal to be less competitive. I'm not saying Arsenal should be less competitive. But if we are, because of how we are now, just Arsenal example, if we are now going to put a hat on a number of these young players, obviously we're talking about signing decent players and that, but put our hat on 5-6 of them, you need to realise all of them are developing at different rates. Because at the end of the day, if you throw Eddie, Nelson, Tyrese, Emil, Joe, all of them in, I believe in all of them, and Saka, they'll all come good, but you don't know what you're going to get. Saka, for me, I'm seeing what Solskjaer is saying about Greenwood and all of these things, and I'm looking at Emery saying it. It's not a criticism, people, but I'm thinking, yo, listen, Saka needs to get involved and that sort of thing. For me, I need to see Saka getting some Premier League minutes, man. For me, man, if 2 or 3 don't go on to be regular, good rotation sort of options in the squad and beyond, then there's a crime. But you look at Martinelli, he's still developing, he's having good moments, he's still raw. Leave him alone. I know, because he's Brazilian and the hype and things, he can't control that. It's not on his own. It's completely different, but maybe it's a benefit that Saliba didn't even come this year, in hindsight, stay at St Etienne, because the dire need for a centre-half at this club, maybe people will come and expect a miracle of someone that's 18 and has barely made any career appearances. People, it's not rocket science. The more games you play at senior level, the more experience you get. It's like, it's completely rubbish example, but it's like being a doctor, it's like a training doctor, being a trainee doctor, open heart surgeon, and someone that's done it 100 or 200 times. The one that's done it 100, 200 times, you're going to see consistency. Now, again, a doctor's heart surgeon thing's a bit extreme. But the person who's doing it for the first time now, he might struggle a bit, there might be inconsistencies, he might, again, I'm not a doctor, but he might patch up one patient better than the other. Do you get it? They're developing. Nelson has made 20 odd appearances for Hoffenheim, 16 for Arsenal. My maths is dead, but let's just call it under 40. You can't expect miracles, Cristiano Ronaldo. How many games has Eddie played? Yes, Eddie's doing his thing in pre-season, and he scored against Burnley, lovely touch, and he's got the 2 against Norwich. But what about the start against Blackpool where it didn't happen for him? And Eddie, it's tough because I want him to get chances, but it's tough because on one hand, you should believe he should get chances. Emre's been talking, but if you look at the backdrop of last season, there was a couple times you was on the bench a lot in terms of depth. You're here in terms of a body, but you was here a lot of times on the bench. There was times we was chasing games. You were seeing Kolasinac, your fullback, coming on, and you weren't really coming on. Obviously, if you've developed now and you've taken your chances and you're patient, and Emre said yes, and you're going to get opportunities, then yeah. But from a selfish point of view, all of these youth players, Eddie should be looking to get 20 games. Emil, the key for Emil Smith-Rowe is to stay fit. For me, he needs to stay fit because he's a terrific player, but he's had rotten luck with these little minor injuries, and he obviously had the major one last year. But should be looking to get 20 league games. Now, that's from a selfish point of view. That doesn't mean if they don't get 20 league games, they're not going to develop. I would love all of them to stay here. I'm just saying from a selfish point of view. But you've got to take time. Even, I don't know what United's doing, but whenever I'm looking at United in pre-season, I'm seeing obviously Greenwood and Garner and Gomez and all of these young players, sort of they're getting chances. So fans in general just need to take time. Take time. Not all of them are going to make it here. All of them are developing at different rates. Some players need to go out on loan, some players don't. Some players are going to struggle and then hit the ground running. Some players are going to exceed and fizzle out. It happens. They're all developing at different rates. So just give the boys time, man. What I don't want to see is this flip-flopping. You can't say a guy's good and then bad, and all of these sort of things. Constructive criticism is fine, people. You lot know, who have been bothered to listen here for the however long I've been ranting on. You understand what I mean by that. If Eddie's had a bad game and he's not taking his chances, cool. Even look at Tyrese. I think he's a bad boy striker and he's got his assist and his things. But there's been a couple of chances in pre-season I think he should have scored. Definitely in the last game he started where he played well. Definitely should have scored that. And if I look back to the cup final against Derby when we was losing, I've seen him put them penalties away in his sleep, and he didn't put them penalties away. He's a striker, so the decisive moments are gonna drop to him in games more often than not. And even looking at Tyrese, one thing I like about him, is his technical qualities. I want him to be a bit not aggressive in clamping people, but more aggressive in being hungry for the ball, demanding it, because he's got it in his locker, man. He can hold up the ball very well. He can drop into that, not the 10 roll, but you know when a striker's willing to muck in. You've seen it, Tyrese has got a lovely first touch. You obviously seen the people doing the Twitter stuff and all them things. But you gotta remember, these lot are all developing. They're not going to be the final product tomorrow. Some players are Kylian Mbappe and that, and they wake up and everything's great. But even Kylian will have times of question marks asked for him, as he probably does already. But just stay by them, just back them, people. Like the flip flopping is not good. It's not good for them mentally as well, especially with. Obviously, I'm not saying they're going to sit and read Twitter and all these things every day, but you lot know with the social media and the Instagram, the comments, some of these people, Maitland Niles has been on the receiving end of it. Just put your hat around them, because me, I'm an Arsenal fan. I came up as Arsenal. From my older heads, you obviously see multiple managers. Post-Wenger, this is the first time I've seen a post-Wenger Arsenal. So I came up with Wenger, developing players. I wanted to be a footballer. Wenger and Arsenal in general, Arsenal's tradition of bringing youth players through, having people that represent the club. Even I never watched Roll Class for obvious reasons, God bless his soul, beyond footage and videos and the club paying homage. But you get me, Arsenal sort of man, you get it? We've always had that sort of thing. And that's one thing